Hello everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Colavita Cooking Live. We have a smashing episode for you today. I'm very excited about it. We are making, get ready, mini sweet potato pies for Thanksgiving. So, I'm gonna walk you through the whole process. These are going to be perfect for maybe your smaller Thanksgiving, should you be having a quarantine Thanksgiving, as I am. I need to use some portion control. They're also fabulous because they have a wonderful olive oil crust. This olive oil crust is delicious, and it is perfect for pie crust novices. And it has this fantastic Italian meringue topping, which I'm going to walk you through. I've already started the process. So, as I talk about all that stuff, welcome once again. I'm Elena. I'm the Director of Marketing at Colavita USA, and I am bringing you mini sweet potato pies. All right, let's get started. So, I just learned how to make Italian meringue. You are going to witness it happening right now. So we have a lot of exciting things planned, including me potentially totally messing this up. But I think it'll go okay. So what I have done for the Italian meringue here is I have 4 ounces of egg whites that I have beaten with 5 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm going to take this down for just a second so you can see. And I've already beaten this up a bit so it's nice and light and fluffy like that, because I wanted to minimize the noises, and apparently the landscapers with their leaf blowers have just showed up, so I'm glad we didn't have both the mixer and the leaf blowers happening. Okay, so those are nice and light and fluffy, beaten with sugar, and now in here I have 3/4 cup of sugar, and that is topped with some water, just enough to cover the top. And we want to get this to about 235 degrees Fahrenheit or about 118 degrees Celsius, whichever temperature measurement you like. I'm going to use a handy meat thermometer, but you could also use a sugar thermometer. And I'm going to gradually take this temperature, because once it gets to the right temperature, I'm going to crank this baby up to high speed, and I'm going to gradually stream it in through the side. And what this is going to do, what characterizes an Italian meringue, and it's going to make this beautiful, glossy, fluffy sheen that's almost going to look like a marshmallow, and we're going to toast it up to accentuate that. So this is almost like those sweet potato marshmallow casseroles you might enjoy during Thanksgivings. But it is a traditional sweet potato pie filling. I'm going to take you through the filling as well as the crust. My goodness, so much, right? Okay, as always, if you have questions, please put them in the comments. We also have our recipe posted there, so if you want to check that out and follow along, you absolutely can. And I'll try to answer the questions as I go. Let's do a little temperature check, shall we? I feel good about doing that. I'm gonna go for Celsius because I feel funky like that today. All right, so I'm just gonna put this in here and see where we're at. We are at about 99 degrees. Oh, we're going to 100. So 105 Celsius, by the way. Keep that in mind. So I'm going for 118. So it'll probably take a few more minutes. You kind of want to keep an eye on this because you really don't want it going over, 2 degrees in this world means a lot. So be a little bit mindful of your sugar. So I'm going to take that out for just a second, and I'm going to talk through a few other pieces of this. So for our crust, which we have, I've halved this recipe because we are going to have a lot of sweet potato pies, and even though they're minis, we're probably going to run around distributing them to other people, and it'd be a fun activity for you to make a little basket, deliver it to your parents, your grandparents, your brothers, sisters, whoever's around, instead of having everybody over to your house. It's probably what I'm going to do, except I know my mom's bringing me apple pie. So I have flour, and I have salt, baking powder, just baking powder actually, and a little bit of sugar, just to give this crust a little bit of sweetness. It is a pie. So those are all my dry ingredients. I'm gonna add them to the flour bowl and mix them all together. But first, we're gonna check this out one more time. I think this will be fairly theatrical for everybody, and you should enjoy it. Has anyone ever made Italian meringue before? Any kind of meringue? There are 3 kinds of meringue: Swiss, French, and Italian. I know this because I watched about, 20 different YouTube videos yesterday trying to figure it out. So, you know, I'm gonna turn up my heat just a little bit.
Arlene is here from Canada.
Hi.
She says hello from Canada and happy Thanksgiving to my American neighbors.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Arlene. I forget, Arlene, when is Canadian Thanksgiving? I know there is one, and I always forget when it is, but thank you for the holiday wishes. I'm very much looking forward to the nice day of fun food. I'm only making a chicken, not a turkey, because it's gonna be a very small Thanksgiving. But I'm kind of delighted by that, so it's good. All right, we are still it's like at 109, right? Oh, 110. Any second, we're getting there. So apparently, you'll see all this steam, and I was told that is the water that's kind of evaporating, which is what you want. So this is turning into a syrup. We're not actually going hot enough for it to turn into a caramel, which would be even hotter, about 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a little bit less than that. You're going for a nice syrupy thickness. So all that water is going to release. I've got a lot of bubbles happening right here, and it's looking pretty good. And you don't want to touch it. That's the thing. Don't stir. Don't even use a pastry brush to scrape down any sugar on the side. You just leave it alone. I have a problem doing that, so I'm exercising a lot of self-restraint right now. It's like I feel like I need to help it, but it does its thing all by itself. So I thought I would do this part first because it's the most complicated and labor intensive, and then once we have this set up, everything else is easy peasy, literally. So obviously you don't have to do an Italian meringue. You could also use ice cream or regular whipped cream, but once you see these, oh my gosh, I have eaten 2 already. Oh, 116, 117. We're almost there. Get excited, everybody. 1 more degree. Just a little bit more. So once you see these with this Italian meringue, it's really a lovely presentation, and the sweetness, again, it's like toasted marshmallow. It goes perfectly with a sweet potato. Now, 118, we're good. Okay, so what we're gonna do, crank this up to high. Excuse me, everybody. This into here. Full concentration right now. Very slowly. It's working. Alright. That's it. So we're gonna let that go for just a little bit, and it's getting super glossy. I'm so excited because this works. Can you hear me now? It's gonna be fun. So you do want to whip this for a little bit after you add your syrupy sugar, because that's going to get it really light and fluffy. It's going to puff up, and that's what you want to create these nice pretty dollops on top of your sweet potato pie. I think they're pretty good, honestly. A little bit longer, maybe? Still warm. So you want to mix this. This is something I forgot, and many thanks to my assistant Mel, who reminded me, that what you should do is seal the bowl. Because if this bowl feels hot, you want to keep mixing until the bowl is like cooler or room temperature to the touch. So this is pretty warm. It feels like if I were to grab a mug of tea or coffee and wrap my hands around that, it's pretty toasty. I kind of like it actually. But let it do its thing. It is cooling down a bit. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. This is science right now, guys. So if you just hang with me, very shortly we're going to have a beautiful Italian meringue to show you, and then we'll get to the rest of the sweet potato pies. Can everybody still hear me? It's cooling down quite a bit. I think maybe another minute or so. That's not good. Okay. Silence. All right, I think this is good actually. Let me just show you guys what we've got here, and you can critique my Italian meringue. I know people like to do these photos. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
Gorgeous.
Right? Okay. I'm gonna leave that right over here and we will get back to it shortly. So let's move on to our crust. So the only equipment you need for this is a couple of wooden spoons, well, the mixer, but for the crust you really just need a bowl. You need your ingredients, and I'm gonna use a wooden spoon. It's so easy. And then a muffin tin. We're baking these in a regular old muffin tin. If you wanted to get fancy and use some of those mini tart or pie shells, you absolutely could, but I know that usually everybody has a muffin tin, right? And they are the perfect self-serve size in a muffin tin. So that's what we're gonna use. So I've got my flour, I'm adding my sugar, getting it on me, my salt, and my baking powder. And I'm just gonna give those a little whisk in this bowl. Okay, so then I'm going to add a half a cup of our Colavita olive oil. I'm using our premium selection here. And an olive oil crust is quite different than a butter crust. Some ways it's good, you know, it's just different. I really like it. I absolutely love the flavor, and I'm gonna promise that you will too. For people that are used to dealing with butter in pastry, you always have to keep butter cold because that's how you get that nice flaky crust. That's not so with olive oil. It doesn't matter. So this is almost like the Play-Doh of crusts. It's very weird. You can hand press it into the molds, and it's really, really easy. So I'm gonna pour this in, and then I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons of our Colavita aged white wine vinegar. And the vinegar is great because not only does it add some moisture, which we're gonna need, wooden spoon, but it actually keeps your dough from oxidizing in the refrigerator. So, you know, like if you cut an avocado and, you know, it starts to brown, or apples and you put lemon juice on them, that is what is gonna happen to your crust in the fridge. And you can make this many days in advance. You make it up to 3 or 4 days in advance, keep it wrapped in plastic wrap. So that vinegar is going to help it not turn brown in the fridge, much like an apple or an avocado would. So it's a really great tip. So this is pretty much all mixed up. This is perfect right now. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm gonna resort to my hands right now just to pull it together. And again, you don't have to worry about it being warm. You don't need to even roll it out. This is like, olive oil crust is delicious, and it's like crust for dummies. You know, crust for people that aren't real bakers. I like to bake, but probably prefer cooking. So this is a great crust for me. I love making it this way. Okay, so look at this. I have like a kind of crumbly but sticking together block. It's perfect. It doesn't need to be smooth. It doesn't need to be well rolled out. let's get our muffin tin, which is back here. So I've already, started here. We have some of these guys already done, so I don't bore you to tears. And I have put a little olive oil in the cups just to grease them up. I'm gonna take maybe like a 1/4 cup's worth and put it in my hand, and I'm gonna press it in and out. And if I have too much, I'll just take it out. No big deal. So you can get this crust as thin or as thick as you want, really. If you like a thicker crust, it can be a little bit thicker, but just remember you'd be sacrificing filling, and the filling on these is really, really good. I think so. So let's talk about sweet potato pie and people's favorite Thanksgiving desserts. Please feel free to say what you're making for Thanksgiving in the comments. So this was a request by our social media manager, and I wanted to, I'm a pumpkin pie girl, always have been. It's probably my favorite dessert. But I thought this was such a nice twist, and I do want to branch out a bit. It's good to branch out. So when I tried these, and again, I'll say I ate 2 already, and we'll probably eat a 3rd and a 4th very shortly. I loved it. It has a different flavor than a traditional pumpkin pie. It's sweeter for sure, but it's just so, I would say it's so flavorful and rich. I mean, I love sweet potatoes, so this is a great, great dessert. We have, just so you know, up on our blog and our recipe library, a whole slew of Thanksgiving recipe ideas for you, so you might want to go check that out. Okay, I'm going to do 2 of these and stop. Great thing is, I have a little hole in the bottom of this one, so I'm just going to grab a little piece of dough and just patch it. I'm telling you, this is the crust for people that don't really make pies. I don't really make pies. It's not, other than pizza pies, but not these kind of pies. All right, we are good for now. So it doesn't like it when I put things on it. Okay, then we won't. I'm going to put the rest of this aside, and I am going to fill these with the sweet potato filling. So let me get that going. I have my ingredients here. Let me just put this over here. Okay. Oh, awesome. Hot. Okay. We have very hot mashed sweet potatoes. So the reason you want these to be hot is because we're gonna add some melted butter directly, not melted butter, we're gonna add softened room temperature butter directly here. So I want the heat from the sweet potatoes to melt the butter. So I'm gonna incorporate that with my handy spatula. And I have to be careful when I hold this bowl so I don't burn myself. But then this butter is going to melt perfectly into these sweet potatoes. Ah, so good. And that is that. Okay. So we have our sweet potatoes. We also have a 1/4 cup of evaporated milk right here. I'm going to add that in and mix. Now, eventually, I am just going to pull out a handheld mixer. You could also go back to your stand mixer, but mine's being occupied by some beautiful meringue right now. So I am going to use a handheld mixer. I want a little extra power to smooth out all those little chunks of sweet potato and make it a really nice, smooth filling. So that's what I'm going to do. And I have a little vanilla I'm going to add in there. And I have an egg. Add that in too. So this is almost, with the milk and the egg, it's almost like a custard, but it's really thick still. So it's a really nice, thick, flavorful custard. So if sweet potato pie isn't your thing, and I don't see why it wouldn't be, Ooh, I think I have more. Okay, 1 tablespoon granulated sugar. 3/4 cup of sugar. So these sweet potatoes are sweet and it is good. I also have 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And let me grab the rest. Cinnamon, and I like to use fresh nutmeg. And sometimes, I mean, depending on what you like, but I'll put a little extra nutmeg because I like it so much. So feel free to add a little bit more. And then I also like to add, you could also add a little bit on top as a little bit of a garnish if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm gonna mix this all together, and then I am going to grab my handheld mixer and make sure it's nice and smooth. So everybody, more loud noises are coming. Get excited.
Arlene asked if you can use whipping cream, but not canned milk.
I think you could. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. Definitely. Whipping cream would be totally fine. I think you could even use half and half if you wanted to be honest. Any one of those milks, I'd still want a certain amount of fat in it. So as you're saying, whipping cream would be great, and half and half would work too. Okay, excuse the loud noises. This one isn't half as loud as the other thing. Hard. So I'm just going to eject these little guys and put them over here. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to our little molds with a scoop, ice cream scoop. Arlene, I'm finally learning how to use the ice cream scoop. I hope you're excited about that. Here we go.
She's excited to have this for breakfast with an espresso.
Oh my goodness, this is perfect for any time. I'm serious. And because they're small, you don't feel too bad eating them. I mean, again, I had to. This would be a perfect breakfast. So I'm just gonna scoop these in, about 1 ice cream scoop or so. I was a little short on that one, per mold. Get them all nice and in there. Now, I hope you guys have all stocked up on olive oil for the holiday. Colavita olive oil, obviously. But if you haven't, right now we have a coupon code, Holiday20, in our online store for 20% off. This is our Black Friday and Cyber Monday deal. So I would head on over there. You know, you want to make sure that you have all your stuff in time. So check out our online store for all of that, and don't forget to check out our recipe site for all of our Thanksgiving recipes. We also, in addition to this, have a beautiful recipe by Jessie Sheehan. I think I'm going to add the rest of this in there in some way, just so it's not wasted. You can go to the very top. I don't think these don't really rise very much, and then they do eventually fall. So we're going to give them a little tap to flatten them out, or you could use a little spatula or knife just to flatten them out. So I was saying we also have a beautiful cranberry galette by Jessie that uses this very same crust recipe. It's really nice, especially if you like a little bit of tartness. I would recommend checking out that recipe. That's also on our recipe library. Right. Okay, now the moment of truth. We get to play with the Italian meringue. I'm gonna put this to the side. And I'm gonna bring out my second ice cream scoop. So what we would do at this point, we would put them in the oven, 350 degrees at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. So that's gonna depend on your oven. So I would give them a little check, but at about 25 minutes, they will be done. So we're gonna bake these up. But of course, in the meantime, I have for you pre-baked ones. Okay. These little guys, aren't they cute? So this is what they look like. So you'll see The tops often crack a little like a pumpkin pie, but this orange color is just so nice and bright. Like a pumpkin would be a little darker, a little bit more brown. So these are perfect. And what we're gonna do to ice them is I'm gonna get an ice cream scoop that I have dipped in hot water. Like my giant mug. This is my coffee mug, everybody. This is what I drink out of every day. All right. So we're gonna scoop the Italian meringue directly onto the pies, and then I'm going to give it a little rotation with an offset spatula. Offset spatula looks like this. It's offset because it has this little angle to it. And I'm gonna do my best to make these nice and pretty for you. So just tap out any excess water. You don't want too much water. And we're gonna do a nice full scoop. I mean, honestly, it depends on how much icing you want. I want a lot of icing. And I do encourage licking your fingers after you do this. Hopefully you're only feeding people in your household, so it's fine. Okay, I'm gonna do both scoops. I honestly should have dipped this again before, but it turned out, so we're okay. All right, I'm gonna put this over here.
Ooh, Arlene says it's gonna be good with a pecan filling with this crust.
It would absolutely be delicious with a pecan filling. I think, honestly, I've made this crust both sweet and savory. When I make it savory, I just leave out the extra sugar. I've used it for tomato tarts. I've used it for a cherry pie. A pecan pie would be great. Again, we have the cranberry galette that uses this crust. It's really, really good. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna press down my offset on kind of an angle here and rotate. I really, really did use a lot of icing here. Oh, it's good. It's actually gonna be okay. I think it's gonna work, everybody. So I'm creating a little indentation, and I'm just gonna, get the excess off my spatula. And then I'm gonna try to go around and clean up the side as best I can to give it like a nice little edge. And I might go back in. I didn't do like a stellar job here, but that's okay. I did it better before. We're gonna try again. Okay. Press down. Rotate. Resist the urge, which I'm fighting right now, to move the spatula while you do this, because that's what I'm fighting with. Okay. The other thing you could do, if you want to make it, I don't know if this is easier or harder for you, you get to decide, but you can use a piping bag, and you can just pipe some directly on in any kind of pattern with any kind of tip that you want. Okay, so we've got 2 of these little guys. Now, toasting the tops. We've been using a lot of electricity today. Hopefully my house will accommodate our needs. So you could use a butane torch should you have one. I don't actually, and I was gonna borrow one for the day, and then I thought, hey, I have a heat gun. So I'm gonna try that. Now, a heat gun is something you would normally use to strip paint. This is not my husband's tool, this is mine. I just want to be clear about that. But what I use it for is food styling, to melt cheese on like hamburgers or pizzas, get it just the right meltiness. And it actually works for this purpose too. So if you have a heat gun, or if your husband does, I don't want to, so narrowly define gender roles. Again, this is my heat gun, but you can just crank this thing up. And be careful, because it does get really hot, so get your fingers out of the way. It is called a heat gun for a reason. And if you just get in there, it's already starting to toast.
Yes. Leah was talking about her sweet potato pie that her mom made, and her granddaddy made it for her dad, but now her mom is turning on the torch, and they use a boiler to do their meringue.
That's a perfect idea. If I had a working broiler in here, I'm gonna turn this off for a second. If I had a working broiler in here, I would do that. So Camelia says that her family uses the oven broiler. So just make sure to keep an eye on it. I know I'm guilty of putting things in the broiler and then walking away and forgetting that, what's that burning smell? So you could definitely do that. One more. Oh, this one's nice. So the great thing about this is the edges crisp up more quickly than the rest. So if you have like a hard edge, that will start to get a little crispier. This thing does take a second to heat up. New uses for your home tools. Look at this little guy, isn't he so cute? All right, let me put my heat gun away. So that is the whole story. So I've taken you through the Italian meringue. I know you guys are gonna go home and just make tons of meringue. The other thing you can do is just pipe these into cookies and bake them. So it's another really fun way to make use of extra meringue, which we will have plenty of. So again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I want to thank you for joining me here today, making these sweet potato pies with olive oil crust. I hope you do try them. If you do, please feel free to tag us on colavita.com. And don't forget to shop on our store with the code HOLIDAY20 for 20% off, and sign up for our newsletter where you'll get all the up-to-date news on discounts and sales and new products and fun things happening in this crazy studio. And there are no mixers running, there's no leaf blowers or heat guns, so it's nice and quiet. And I wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving from me and from Colavita. I hope you have lots of delicious things to eat, and it's a really wonderful day for you and your family. And please join us next week. We will be here at 12 p.m. with a very special guest that I'm very excited about. Thank you, everybody, and ciao for now.